Coach Ware. Today, I'm going to talk about one of our sled progression drills that we did every Monday, something we do early spring and then through non-contact days, no pad days in June. And then obviously it's stuff that we did in July as well. So this is a very low impact contact drill that we did. I liked it because it allowed us to get a lot of reps, a lot of quality reps, and it allowed me to go, 4 defensive linemen at a time and then be able to scaffold off of it. So one of the biggest things that I like to do with my drills is add dimensions as they get the understanding of the basic drill. And then we always try to work some sort of tackling form, technique, or even somewhat of live tackling into our drills. And so this is when I start off with spring. We would have gone over some basic stance stuff by that point, and I can talk about that a little bit as we go through the video of what I coached in terms of a defensive lineman stance. And then obviously for this drill, if you have a 5-man sled, we kept the middle open so that I could do the snap count and then move my foot so that they're going based off of movement. Everything we did based on movement, not just a cadence, so they get used to it. And then I had the ball and the stick thing, but I never really used it. I made it and then use it maybe one time. So here he's going to do the foot for me. And then there's whistle dimensions to this that I'll just kind of talk about what I did so that you have an understanding because you won't be able to hear it. So we always started off shaded on the left-hand side, so he should be over a little bit more. They're going to be 6 points of contact, so toes, knees, hands, and they're going to project through and roll their hips. And as they roll their hips, I want the hands to be above the waist and the hips. I want them pressing and driving through their toes so you get that full extension. And then their aiming points would be the outside shoulder and the V of the neck. And obviously, however you coach it, you can manipulate how you want their hand strike to be. We were a gap sound defense, so we really never lined up head up. So we never really worked that type of technique. So we go ahead and watch them here. All right, so we'll watch them here, going off the movement, rolling through the hips, driving through the toes, and then they're going to pop over to the opposite side and go over from the right-hand side and do the same thing, making sure that the big thing is that their hips are back. And then as they fire those hips forward, they want to press off those toes. Everybody has their opportunity to go. We go left-hand side, right-hand side. We're going to progress now from out of a stance. I'll kind of talk about my philosophy for a stance and then alignment as well. All right, so we would have already done our basic stance, but for a run stance, I always told them, and just our rule was our inside foot is back, inside hand is down. You can see here, his inside foot stagger shouldn't be past the arc. Give these guys some slack. It's been a couple months after their season, and so they hopped in and volunteered to help out to do these drills. I'd like them to be more square. If you do a tilt, here's a good example of a tilt technique. If we were in a pass rush stance and we want to get into a little bit more of a speed stance, so not as balanced with the stagger. So I always told them they could go as far back as the heel. We would narrow the base down. And then if we were at the defensive end position, they would kind of almost get more into a sprinter stance. And then I know a lot of discrepancy between what the back should look like. Do you want the hips above the shoulders or do you want more of a flat back? Coach it how you want. I kind of let the player do what's most comfortable and what they're most explosive doing. So his case, that was flat. His case, his hips were up, and he has a really quick get off. So for this part of the drill, again, they're going to take their first step is going to be with the inside foot. And so this is a run destruction drill. So they're not wanting to take too far of a step upfield. So we're looking at a 6-inch step to replace slightly outside the outside foot, still attacking the same landmarks. And then this is where we want to roll the hips through and not move feet, but we never really did that. Was something that I saw in a video that I liked that I think would be good to add to the progression before going to what they show in the video of buzzing their feet. So when we attack, we don't want to just let our feet be stagnant. So we want to drive and set the line of scrimmage back a yard while maintaining our gap. So what you'll see they do in the video is when they fire off, they're going to get their feet buzzing. So they're taking short, choppy steps, getting a bit of a push on the sled, looking for their shoulders and their arms to be above the hips. Unfortunately, our sled didn't lift up. I wish we had one like that, but it stayed flat like this. So a bit difficult at times to get the proper angle. So they would do this to the left-hand side, and then I don't have the video of them jumping over to the right-hand side, but you'd get the idea how their stance is going to switch. The hand that's down and the foot that's back is going to be opposite, and then they would rotate out. So we'll go ahead and watch it. We'll watch their how they look technique-wise. So he's given the cadence. They're going off ball movement, striking their landmarks, rolling the hips, and then the feet are buzzing. They're extended, good wide base, and then their feet are moving as the sled moves back, and then they're going to maintain their gaps. One thing we'll do to this drill too is we'll actually add some different dimensions where now they're going to work a get off move, and then they're going to tackle on air or do a strip tackle part of the drill. This drill, again, we just did it where the hips were rolling, and then we did it where we're just maintaining the gap, buzzing the feet. So now we want to work a get off move. So we've set the line of scrimmage back a yard, we've maintained our gap, and now we're going to work a get off move so that we can make a play on the ball carrier. So these are get off moves that we've worked. I stole some things from Larry Johnson with his pass rush technique that I really liked, and a lot of it can be utilized in the run game. And so when you can have a spillover from pass rush to run destruction, it's just reinforcing skills that these guys can use, and then they get multiple reps at it. So we look a better stagger here by both these guys as far as run block destruction stances. Okay, more balanced. His hips are up higher. He's more of a flat back player. Again, I really don't like to nitpick on certain things just because I want them to be in the best position that they can be in to play fast and to be violent and to be strong. So if that means his butt's up higher, then let's go for that. And if he's more of a flat back, then that's perfect. Okay, so he's going to take 6-inch step, attack the outside shoulder, the V of the neck, and the outside shoulder with their hands. We want the arms extended, thumbs are up. I'll talk more about that and show a little small video as to why, but you're stronger when your thumbs are in the air as opposed to kind of pronated. He's going to roll his hips. That's why we do the 6 points of contact, so we get the hips engaged. That's why we power clean and hang clean and do different type of hip explosion drills. And then now they're going to, once they've pushed this back a yard and they're buzzing their feet, they're going to, and then they're going to work a get off move. And so these are things we've practiced before. We'll have done those get off moves before doing this part of the sled progression. So that's something that you can work. I show in this video some of the moves we work for our slanting, but here, you would work like an arm over, a rip, a pull. It's hard to pull with the sled, but taking the hand on the shoulder and the V of the neck and pulling down, ripping through, going arm over. So just some different things you can do, and whatever get off moves that you like to work for your defensive linemen. So we'll go ahead and watch.
So from a stance, off the foot movement, they're going to 6-inch step, strike their landmark, buzz their feet, work their get off move, square hips, and then buzz feet to the whistle.
We always will flip. So we go left side, then right side. And then now you can see we've added a new element. We've got our ball carriers back here. So instead of just sitting, they're going to go work their form tackle technique. And then you can always too, and we'll do this with when we're slanting, but instead of these guys coming straight downhill, you can angle them and then you can work the tackling that way. And then we also did it too where we're going to put a ball in these guys' arms and then they're going to try to strip first and then secure the tackle. And then we can see staggers just a little deep for.
So with the added element, they're going to buzz, work their get off move on a whistle, and then they're going to go through their form tackle technique. And again, the more time you have, you can make sure that they're going through the proper technique for tackling as you progress through the drill and add elements. Or you could add a football and have them do punch out. You can add these with foot movement. You got your dip and rip. You got your club rip. You got your club arm over. And then you have your double arm swat.
In our sled drill is now we're working our slant. So anytime we're working a stunt or a blitz where we're hitting a different gap, where we have some sort of auto check, we need to practice it. And you can do this. We'll do this also too with actual offensive linemen to work different types of run blocks. But this was just a good way for us to get repetitions, do it quickly, and what we do with this too is work our moves when we're slanting. So one of the biggest things that I instilled in these guys is that when you're slanting to a new gap, you're slanting with a purpose. So you're not as concerned about attacking the man as opposed to crossing face, getting to your gap, and then getting square back to your gap. So before we would add, the ball carrier back here, you can do this on air. Um, we didn't always have someone back here to tackle for every part of the drill. You could do it that way. I would pick a different part of the drill each week to add, the ball carrier and to add the punch out, which I'll talk about. So we talk about slant with the purpose. Cross the face, you're going to step with a 45 across the midline of the offensive lineman, and then you're working some sort of move. So that's where we get slant with the purpose. Don't just slant to slant, slant with a move and work a move. And so I'll have a separate video that went through just a few of the same um, slant moves that we would use. So you've got your dip and rip, you got your club arm over, and then your club rip, and then we had a double arm swat too. And these are moves that again we utilize also with the pass rush. So again, he's going to step 45, 45. They're going to work whatever their get off move is. And then so when we slant, this would be ideal scenario that we're slanting to where the ball's going. So these ball carriers back here are going to come downhill at an angle, and then these guys are going to work their tackling form. But we do a punch out drill to work or turnovers. So as he slants, he's going to flow, and he's going to try to punch out first, and then after the punch out, we're going to secure the tackle.
Again, going off of
So
foot
what we
movement,
like for them to
working
do
the
for
same
this
tech
drill
or slant
is since
techniques we
the
talked
ball
about,
is in the right arm,
attacking
they're
the
going to
ball
use the right
carrier,
arm to
securing the
punch, and then the
tackle, and
left
then
arm
working
to
a punch
secure.
out.
So he's going to wrap with the left.
So everything we do in
wrapping,
this progression, we always go left side, then right
side,
working the slant move off ball movement, finding the ball carrier, securing with the right now, and then punch out with the left.
The sled drill that we do, again, I just want to reiterate that Everything is off of ball movement with cadence, and then on the certain ones that we did, there's a whistle for them to know when to tackle on air if there's no ball carrier, when to work their get off move, and then when to stop buzzing their feet if they're not going through their tackling progression. So for this one, we're going on air. This is when you can add a ball carrier. This is when we slant, and now the flow of the play is going back to where we first initially slanted from. And so it happens, you got to practice it. You can't just expect them to do it in a game. So that was a big thing, is make your drills, make whatever it is that you're doing most realistic to what they're going to see in a game setting. So, and that's what we're doing here. One of the big coaching points anytime you're slant, like we talked about, is slant with purpose. Bring a move, get to your gap, square your hips up once you get to your gap if you're staying there, or as soon as you read flow, because your hips are square, you can redirect. And so we talk about projecting. So if this guy's slanting to this inside gap and we've got ball carrier flowing back to where he came from, use these bodies to push and project your body back out. And so hopefully you'll see in at least one of these videos that these guys are going to do that. So once they hit that gap, they're going to push and project and shoot themselves
All
out
right,
of
so
the
now going to
cone.
slant
Okay, then
and
you
then
can
have to
add ball
project back to
carriers,
where the
or you
flow of
can
the
add
ball is
just
going
tackling
off
on
a ball
air, and then you
movement,
can
working a
also add
move.
ball carrier and
And then
punch
on the
out.
whistle, they're
So
going to buzz their
however
feet and run through
you
their
seem,
tackle
however you want
technique.
to get
We
your
flip
drill
over to the
done, and
opposite
then it's
side,
whatever time you
working the
have in
same
order to
thing,
do
slanting
so.
left, back to right. And then with this too, you can always add ball carriers and then ball carriers with footballs to work your punch out drill.
Through in the sled progression was just to get double teamwork. And you could have your interior guys do this. You can have your defensive ends do this as well. If you play an odd front where you may be in a 5 to the tight end or a 4 to the tight end. We didn't play that. So while we're doing this with the interior guys on the opposite end, the defensive ends can be going through their run reads, which will be the last part of this video. Again, this is something that is quick and easy. If you don't have a sled, you can do the same drill with a goalpost, or you can utilize offensive lineman to do it. So here, he's going to do his same 6-inch step, attack his landmark. When he feels the double team coming down, so this is going to replicate a gap scheme where they're trying to displace and then work up to the second level. So he's going to attack his landmark. When he feels this blocker coming down, he's going to swing his hips violently into the inside hip of this offensive lineman. He's going to get extension on the inside guy with his arms so that when he does need to work his get off move, he's in a good position to do so. He's going to keep his feet buzzing, short and choppy. And then what we would usually do is either on a whistle, this guy will climb to the next level, and then that's when he works his get off move, or we keep him there, and then on the whistle he just works a get off. And again, he's doing a rip move, he's doing an arm over, stuff that we've practiced, and we continue just to rep the same things over and over. So we'll watch it here. He's going to
So again, off foot movement, violent hips, get off
good
move,
job.
squaring back
Always
up.
square. One we will do is a zone block, and I teach the defensive lineman too. A win in a double team isn't always making a tackle or splitting. And so some cases, especially for us over the past few years, is we want to hold up the double team. Okay, so we don't want one of those offensive linemen climbing to the second level and getting to the linebackers. So this could be more of a zone blocking. You could still do this in your gap scheme, just going to be different as far as the angle of the offensive lineman he's going to take with his feet. But so here he's going to attack when he feels him working more of a zone step, he's going to hold him up and not allow him to get to the second level. And again, you could do this with the previous one. And then, like all drills that we do, we're going to do these from both sides. So once we get through the two different types of blocking and different types of technique we do to handle the double team, we're going to flip over to the other side. And just to add on this too, if you have a smaller defensive line and you get moved periodically, another progression of this drill could be you working the drop in the knee technique. I was not a big fan of it, and we were fortunate enough not to have to use it because we had really good off-season lifting. Our guys got strong, and then they did things outside of our weights as well, just to put themselves in the best position to be successful. So we'll go ahead and watch this. He's going to hold him up, and we tell him to grab cloth. You know, there's not very many times in a game where you see a defensive lineman getting called for a holding penalty. So again, he's going off of a foot movement. When he feels him coming down, he's going to get a good base, buzz those feet.
Yeah.
And then on the whistle here, he's going to work a get-off move, and then this guy's going to climb. So you do that two different ways. You can blow the whistle so that he can work his get-off, or the guy's going to climb, and then he's going to square his hips back up to the backfield and buzz his feet. And then with these two, you can add the tackling dimension that we did in the previous drill. So you could put a ball carrier back there. You could put a ball carrier with the football and work punch out. All right, so there's two ways you can do this part of the drill. I would sometimes do this while the interior guys are doing their basic step and buzzing. I would have the ends off to the side like you see here, or depending on the style defense you run, while the interior guys are doing the double teams at the end of the progression, you could have the defensive ends to the other side of the sled working through their run reads. So again, do it how you need to. And with this as well, you could always add a guy back here so that you're working your tackling technique like we talked about. And then you could add a football and do the punch out technique as well. All right, so what we're going to get here is he's going to inside release, or he's going to base block, or he's going to reach block. If he's inside releasing, we want to make sure that the end gets hands on. He's going to ride his jam all the way down to his gap. So we don't want to just get hands on. We want to be able to step and close a gap as we keep hands to that outside shoulder. And that keeps him from climbing to the second level, but that also puts the defensive end in a good position. If they were to kick out, it gets him right to where he needs to be to work his technique for a trapper. If he gets a base block, he's going to attack the same spot, the outside shoulder. He's going to anchor, and he's going to squeeze the gap down. If he gets a reach block, there's a couple different ways you can teach this. Some like to teach the punch and stab with the outside arm, keeping the hips square. Some guys will teach to keep the outside arm free. I was big on keeping the outside arm free. Then you could still work get off moves as needed. With the outside arm, you could still as well. So it just depends on what you like. Any type of reach block, though, I think a big key to the technique is making sure that you're pressing this guy vertical. So we want to seal this outside gap off, and we do that by driving this guy to the backfield to force that back to have to plant and then cut back inside to where all the help is at. We actually do a sled progression too, or not sled progression, but just like a blocking progression for reach blocks where these guys are going to be in different alignments. And so it's going to give them, different looks as to whether or not they got the outside, if he was head up or inside. So if this dude's fast off the ball and he hooks me right away, well, now I know I have to work that technique from the inside shade. And so we would do that 3 different ways to the one side and then 3 different ways to the right side. So we'll go ahead and watch. He knows what's coming. You can do this drill too where it's up to him to determine what type of block out of the 3, or you can start off with telling them what's coming so they can work the technique, and then as they get better, you have them not know. And then one other thing I'll add before we watch it is this guy's technique is important too. And so when I coached O line, I taught my tackles that when you inside release, the worst thing that can happen is that the defensive end jams you and then you don't get to climb to the next level. So with that being said, these guys are needing to give as much effort as possible to give them the best look. So when you're watching film and you're watching the opponent and you see the inside release, you want to replicate what that guy does as much as possible. And that's stuff that you can put on your players to look out for. All right, so he's going to jam and squeeze, pressing him down to his gap, keeping hands on, and he wants to square back up to the backfield. Obviously, we know that this play would flow, so that sled pad would probably be more to the inside, but not a bad job. Defensive ends could get. I won't spend as much time talking through the technique as I discussed it in the jam and squeeze, but this is going to be the reach block. So again, he's going to work the technique that we talked about. You could do a separate drill for everybody to work reach blocks, and then again, like as stated, you could put a ball carrier back here with or without the ball to work your tackling form, and then also to work your takeaway techniques. So we'll go through and hope he does a good job here. Fights outside, and then would like him to be a little bit more square. But again, that's stuff that you coach and correct. That we would go through in this drill would be a base block where the offensive lineman is trying to drive us out. Could be, various different types of run plays to do this. So the DN again is going to be responsible for his outside gap. He's going to feel it and anchor. As he anchors and feels like he's getting driven out, he's going to try to press this guy to squeeze the gap back down. So we'll watch it real quick. He does a good job keeping his feet buzzing and then squaring up his feet.